Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Mark Truss with Wunderman Thompson
Belle Frank with VML Y&R.
um, and still in module 4, still talking about the big idea. Let me share this screen. First, let me put it on screen show. Close that. You think I'd have this down by now, wouldn't you? There we go. Share. Beautiful. All right. So we talked about the big idea, or Belle talked about the big idea. Now what Belle would like to talk about a bit is the research methods you use in developing that big idea. Again, taking a step back, you know this by now. You can probably recite this better than I can, but this program is about a consumer-centric approach, starting with business goals. What are the requirements to create a business plan, actual insights that take you through creative, media, and then how to effectively assess that campaign. Creative development builds on the foundation's research. And this course is really about the whole creative process. So justifying the role of research in the process, recommending research approaches and methodologies, getting the right insights so that you can fuel the creative brief, and leading effective conversations between key stakeholders. As we mentioned last time, here we are, we're more than halfway through the course, and we are kind of following the process as Belle or I would experience it in our day jobs. So here we are, right? You already saw what is the big idea. Now it's research methods in the development of that big idea. And Belle, it is all yours.
So it's interesting, folks. The more you spend time in this program, the more you think about what kind of job do you want to have. And even though I imagine many of you will not be responsible for the creating of the advertising, I know for me, one of the most satisfying pieces of my job is being able to be a good partner to the folks who are responsible for that creation. And what's interesting is, while we encourage you to use research, and I always used to say to clients, well, if it was my nickel, I'd spend it for research, so that I was pretty confident the work would work. The truth is, copy testing and testing the advertising isn't equally valued by everyone involved in the process. And working with the Advertising Research Foundation, we actually were able to identify that different people value different things in the process. And what I would say to you, I know you've seen this, these slides, and this paper's been referred to in other parts of your course, but it really was important. We want to make sure that the research we do inspires the ideas, gives value to the ideas, and help us get to both better creative through better insights. So the notion that we should really pay attention to how we approach research when we're doing creative development can really help us become that most valuable partner. Let's keep going. There's a research brief. There's a plan. That way, the research will truly inspire big ideas. And we need to dig deep. We need a pretty comprehensive approach so that we can account for what people really do, not just what they say they do. So that said, first you start with the questions. What don't I know? There are key questions, and that will help you understand which kind of research you need. What is the goal or objective of my campaign? What do I want people to do? Do I want them to get another jar of the same thing? Do I want them to switch brands? How likely is that? What do I need to say to them? What's my message? What's my point of differentiation? How do people see me? What perceptual space do I have? What is my big idea? What do I bring to the party? What can I say, and how believable will it be? How do I want to say it? To whom do I want to say it? And what is the best way for me to get that message out there? And you need to know all those things when you start, because then you need to understand what kind of research you really need to do. And there's a process. All the courses have a process. Research planning does too. What do I have? What do I already know? What does the data tell me? Who's my audience? Who am I likely to move with this communications plan? What do I think will work? What are my hypotheses? Because then I can come up with a methodology. Am I doing qualitative or quantitative? I need to understand what I'm asking people. Is it a discussion guide or a questionnaire? I need to put it in field, and then I can't shortcut. I need to analyze everything I know in the context of everything I knew when I started. So let's start with the data. I hate builds, Mark.
There you go.
Okay, so what's already out there? What does the world say? It's not in field, and you can use all kinds of sources. What's happening in the culture? What do I understand about the category? How do people typically enter it? What are the competitors doing? Who's growing? Who's declining? Who's disrupting, and why? Who's a big spender? Who's got a big voice? What are they saying? What are all the competitive positionings? What are people doing? What drives people, and what are the real need states? We always used to say the best way to kill a brand, a bad brand, is to do great advertising for it. So if I'm not satisfying people in the way they want to be satisfied, I will not be successful with my ad, with my research, with anything. Okay, and there are many sources. I like people who come through classes to understand that when you get into a job, many jobs, different companies have different tools. All of these tools can help you. There are published reports. My students, when I taught at CCNY, loved Mintel. The truth is, all of these sources, Forrester, Gartner, eMarketer, LexisNexis, they give you articles, they give you information. Don't forget the Census Bureau. You want to size your market, you need to understand what really is there. And of course, ARF and WARC, tons of case studies, lots of places to look. Social research that's published all the time. And of course, your clients' research. Clients are always pleased when agency people or with any of their team members look at the existing research and use that. They spent for it. They want to believe it's valuable, and it is valuable. Don't start from scratch all over again. What about experts? I'm a big believer in this, and this is why I say we have to understand what people really do, not just what they report that they do. Get out of the office, see the stores, understand what it feels like to buy them. Talk to the people that are in between, the delivery guys, the waiters, the bartenders. Look at what's selling. Look at what people are saying in reviews. Make sure you understand the entire experience. You will do a much better job of understanding what you need to do with your communications. The audience definition from the client's brief may be helpful, but it may be limited. It's not enough to say, I just want to get everybody to buy more of me. Think about who is likely to respond. Is somebody already positive towards you? Did somebody just buy the competitive brand? You know, they may need to wait a while before you. I always say products have an adoption cycle. It may not be time to promote your new audience. Is it large enough for the objectives? Nothing is straightforward, but everything is knowable. Let's analyze what the media databases say. What are the shares? Do people portfolio use this category, or are they loyal to a brand? Understanding that will allow you to truly define a target audience in a productive way for your client. What else? Oh, Mark, it's our favorite part, right? So then we talk about what should happen. What do you think will happen? What will make this person believe this? Because as you design your research, those hypotheses are really going to come to the fore. You start with questions. The correct approach might be to fish a little, right? But also land on something, do a little bit of preliminary thinking, and then try it out. And as you develop your hypotheses, the more you learn, the more you will refine them. Data-informed hypotheses are stronger than the first ones, and they're usually based on what you've learned along the way. Then you need a research plan, right? What's the ideal design? What's the design that the budget will permit, and something in between? Mark and I talk all the time about how if we had unlimited time and unlimited funds, we would study everything. But you have to be practical. You have to decide what are you likely to learn from each method, and then how will you fit those methods into the time frame?
Just one thing I just want to jump in on, we talk about this at work a lot, where sometimes we will come up with the ideal research plan that takes too long and costs too much money. Like Belle was saying earlier with big ideas, don't throw that out.
Right.
Think about, okay, this is like the best way to do this research, but it's too expensive and too long. So how can we do it quicker and less expensive?
What's plan B, right?
Right. Don't throw it out and say, oh, we're not going to do it then. How could we do it in a way that fits both of those?
Right. And I know you've talked in foundations about the difference between qualitative and quantitative. When it comes to testing big ideas, you really have to think about what you need to do. So obviously, if you're just getting started, your goal is to understand what might be the best approach for this big idea. Then you would need to measure it to determine whether it's meaningful and motivating. And the difference between the two types of research are really important in landing a big idea. Mark calls this the research sandwich. I love that. You start with qual. You know very little. You have your secondary learning that was already published in your client's data. You identify your hypotheses and you explore them with people. You develop a quantitative research instrument that's based on that learning. You get your findings, and then you get deeper understanding of the results. Why did you get those findings? And what do they mean? And where should my idea land? And the only thing to mention here is the more you study marketing and the more our industry evolves, design thinking is everywhere now. And that too follows the nonlinear process of getting to a big idea. You start out by understanding and empathizing, you define the problem or hypotheses, you generate your ideas with divergent and convergent thinking, and then they call it prototype, we call it test ads. But basically, you develop something that you can assess your idea with. So if you're trained in this, big ideas should come easy to you. If you're trained in big ideas, design thinking is really following a parallel path. So good luck.
I like that.
Yeah.
Belle, thank you. That's great. Super helpful thinking about the research methods. Appreciate that much, everyone. I hope that was helpful. See you all soon and be well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.